doesn't get any bigger than Game 7. And for Sacramento, a young upstart team back in the playoffs for the first time in 17 years, a chance to announce their arrival against not just the defending champs, but their Northern California neighbors. A deafeningly loud, raucous crowd at the Golden One Center, as has come to be expected at the G1C. Comedian and Davis native Hassan Minhaj, a massive Kings fan, riling up the crowd before the tip. This is the fourth Game 7 for the Warriors since 2015, 2-1 coming into today. The Kings 0-3 in the Sacramento era in Game 7s, hosting a Game 7 for the first time since that infamous Western Conference Finals against the Lakers. Stephen Curry, you saw him right there, setting the tone early for himself. One of 7 threes on the night. He has 20 points in the first half alone. Keegan Murray gives Sac a 1-point lead midway through the first, and then Terrence Davis, a strong showing off the bench as he finishes with 14. And the Kings are up 31-30 after the first. In the second, Domas Sabonis with that big dunk, but Andrew Wiggins, he ties things up at 51 all with that little bunny. De'Aaron Fox, he answers, though, with a corner three. And then Sabonis, a big first half, 16 points, but he only manages 6 points in the second half. Kings are up 2 going into the break. The game turns in the third quarter. 13 offensive rebounds in the third alone. Kevon Looney finishes with a double-double, 11 points, 21 boards. Then Jordan Poole stretching the lead to 12. But De'Aaron Fox, trying to keep Sac in at the 3, pulls them within 7, down 80-73. He has 16. Malik Monk, big all season coming off the bench. He gets the bucket and the foul, and Sac is within 6 after the free throw. 14 for Monk. And you can absolutely tell the Warriors in charge by this play right here. Klay Thompson hits the 3 and draws the foul. He finishes with 16. The Warriors are up 10 going to the fourth thanks to that 4-point play. And in the fourth, Curry just dominates. He has 30 points in the second half alone, puts up 50 for the game, not just a postseason career high for him, but the first ever 50-point game in a Game 7 in NBA history. He's too much for the Kings to overcome as the Warriors win it, running away 120-100, and the Kings season ends as they drop the series 4-3.
I told you I'm excited about this team. I got a lot of gratitude for everybody in that locker room. You know, I think we obviously have a chance to really, really be good in the future. This obviously stings. It's going to sting for a while. It should. It's supposed to sting. And hopefully we'll be able to use this and remember what this feels like so that when we get going this summer, we can crank it up a notch so we don't feel this sting again next year.
Proud of these guys, come out. We all came out, locked in with their heads straight. It took them to Game 7. Obviously, it's not the outcome we wanted, but just to stay focused that way, they're a tough team to play. They play a different type of basketball, and we matched up well. We just didn't have enough to get it done.
I was just talking to guys. I'm like, this is weird. I'm going home. Don't have anything to do. Yeah. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird. So I definitely want to be playing again at this time next year.
Everybody on the team, like I said, and all the coaches believe that we had a chance to make a lot of noise, and unfortunately we weren't able to do that.
I mean, you can just tell everyone, like you said, is down, hurt from this game. Losing a game in 7 is tough, but it's not like we're losing to a team that wasn't that good. That team is really good. They won a championship last year with the same team, so hats off to them.
Definitely a building block. Obviously, being able to play a team like this who, we all have tremendous respect for, who've been there, done that. This is definitely just something that you build on. I mean, we had a good season. We were the 3rd seed. We stayed relatively healthy. Playing against this team in the first round was a blessing and a curse. You could learn a lot. You're not the favorite to win. We fought every game, but they did what champions do.
We now bring in our Sean Cunningham and Kirsten Keller to break down this game. We're going to save the look back on the season as a whole for another final quarter, probably on Friday. But let's just go to this game. And Kirsten, I'll start out with you. What was your big takeaway from Game 7?
It felt like the game, especially through the first half, really could have gone either way. It was a great game. That second half, we've talked about it throughout this series especially. The Kings haven't been good coming out of the second half on the losing games. If you look at that third quarter, it has been a struggle for them. So when you felt the momentum starting to sway towards Golden State and they kept on getting basket after basket, their defense just looked out of character, I guess you would say. And
we'll build off of that, Sean. You felt the momentum swinging with every offensive rebound that the Warriors, and specifically Kevon Looney, was pulling down. In my opinion, that is where the game was lost, on the offensive glass in the third quarter, and Kevon Looney specifically.
No, you couldn't have said, 100% right. You put stuff on Stephen Curry aside. that's exactly where this game was lost. And you look at what happened in Game 4, Game 3, where the Kings didn't look like themselves, and it was the intangibles. We talked about, Gary Payton II coming out and getting offensive rebounds in that game, seeing how Dante DiVincenzo even disrupted the game. You're seeing Stephen Curry come in and fly in for second, third chance opportunities, and that's really just the Achilles heel for the Kings in this series. And when they don't look like themselves and they go small, particularly after the success that they experienced in Game 6, well, part of that is going small and you lose that size that you rely on. And that's one thing to lose rebounds to somebody like Kevon Looney. It's a completely other thing to lose rebounds to a guy like Stephen Curry, who even goes in there and flies in and gets those opportunities. So, yeah, I mean, third quarter, you're hoping going in the fourth, like you can just get the crowd back into it. And Steph Curry just erupts and has one of those incredible vintage Curry performances that no one has ever seen in this Game 7 scenario. 50 points, and it's never happened in a Game 7, and the Kings it just sucked all the wind out of this Kings sails. I think Kings fans really felt it, and you had to just kind of tip your cap and just admire the greatness that is Stephen Curry.
And let's build a little bit more on that. You said it, 50 points. I mean, they know that Curry's going to get what Curry gets, but I mean, I don't think anybody was stopping him today. No, not at all. And when the camera zoomed in on him and he said something about not lighting the beam and really sparking the fans, you could tell he was playing. There was, back and forth. But it just felt like, I don't know, for you guys, and you guys could talk more about this too, but the second half, it didn't feel like the crowd energy was there. You were talking, it felt like the Golden One Center was flat just after the break, even before the Warriors started going, right? Exactly. And you didn't, it almost like, I don't know, maybe fans or people started partying a little bit too early and it got to them by halftime, who knows, but it definitely felt like even coming out of it, Sacramento didn't even start off hot at all. At least from my point of view, it didn't feel like that. Curry, 30 points after the break. Right. A 20-point first half was fantastic, so you knew something special was going, but what he was doing, some of the shots he was hitting, and from the range he was hitting, you just couldn't stop him. No, you can't. And there's no recipe for it. I think Mike Brown said he wished he may have double teamed a little earlier. I think they could have gone to Davion Mitchell a couple times. Davion clearly had success against Curry in this series, and you saw more Terrence Davis than anything. But it was just a lot of switches, and Curry made him pay. Curry always makes you pay when you make a mistake, especially. But he was hitting some shots tonight that was just, there's nothing you can do other than hope and a prayer and just hope that he misses. And Mike Brown talked about it. He's like, if Curry's beating you, that's okay. You want to make sure you're, honing in on some of those other guys. And Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, they all struggled to shoot the ball tonight, and Curry didn't. And if you take Curry and Kevon Looney, that ended up being the breaking point for the Kings. And talking about the other guys struggling to shoot, you look at the benches, the Kings bench far outperformed the Warriors bench, and they got some good production from Malik Monk again, Trey Lyles, and some other guys, but just wasn't enough to overcome Curry. No, not enough at all. And what's hard is that for the Kings, it almost feels like multiple people have to have a good night in order for them to pull a win. But like how Sean mentioned, all the Warriors needed was Kevon Looney and Stephen Curry. What do you think Sacramento could have done differently to pull out the win? Sean, take this away from me. I have no idea. Sean? Hit some shots. I mean, that's really what it came down to. They went cold. They couldn't get rebounds. Domantas Sabonis started off really aggressive in that first half for Sacramento on the offensive end. It was clearly his best game of the series from the offensive standpoint. I think 16 points in the first half, right? Yeah, he was leading the team. He hadn't seen that at any point in this series. And second half, they came out and they just went away from him. And he had his hands full. They obviously had someone like Kevon Looney he had to deal with, that immovable object, as I like to call him. Draymond Green even got into foul trouble, which is something the Kings were thrilled to see at that point. But yeah, when you start getting those second, third chance opportunities, they just make you pay. And this is that championship pedigree we talk about. This is why at the start of the season, or the start of this series, mind you, it's what this Warriors team is capable of. The Kings offense is ironically built like the Warriors used to be, and the Warriors didn't want to run with them until they got to that second half. They put their track shoes on and they made them pay. And that was a popular storyline before the game yesterday when we were at practice talking with them. Steve Kerr was asked about it today. It's a younger team, the Kings are. Are they maybe looking fresher down the stretch, especially with the 3-5 in the final 3 games of the series? But that clearly wasn't an issue. It wasn't an issue for Stephen Curry. Wasn't an issue for Kevon Looney, who his third game pulling down at least 20 rebounds. One last question for both of you, and I'll ask you quickly and start out with you. Are you surprised that the Warriors won this and that they won it in 7.
No, not at all. I did think this was going to go a long series, and I think the experience, like Sean has mentioned, is really what was the factor coming down the stretch. I think that the Kings, though, this is going to sting. They said that was the common theme from this game, that it's going to sting for a while, and I really think that they're going to learn and make the adjustments they need to so they don't fall short next time.
I know you weren't surprised because from the beginning you said Warriors in 7.
I did, but that old saying is kind of like you kind of wish you knew then what you know now. I'm not a big believer in momentum, but I am a big believer in home court advantage, and I think that place was raucous atmosphere, and for the whole half everything was good. And I'll push back a little on what you said, Kirsten. Like, I think that crowd was ready to go in that second half. Team didn't bring it, and I think that everyone felt that tide shift and that wave that was coming with the Warriors. Kings were ready to go, and the crowd was ready to go in that fourth quarter, and they just didn't give them anything to cheer for.
That's a good point.
Except for when the game is out of hand, they've already pulled the plug.
The Sacramento chances, like a thank you.
And all that really shows is just not only the support in this town and what this team this season has meant. I mean, this is going to be a successful Kings season, no doubt. I mean, I said before the series that
even if they got swept,
they could have been swept in those first 4 games, and this still would have been a great season for the Kings. They put their best foot forward. This kind of accelerates some of the development of this team and some of the things. I mean, Steve Kerr called them, "Hey, you've just entered. You're now a contender in this Western Conference." So,
Chris, were you surprised?
2 lessons in brevity from both of you because I said quickly, I want your answers. I was surprised because I said Warriors in 6 from the beginning. Okay. I thought Warriors were going to blow out the Kings in Game 6 at the Chase Center. When Sacramento won that one, and I was saying this all day yesterday and today before the game, I thought it was going to be the Kings because I trust this Warriors team entirely. Except I didn't trust them to win 2 games on the road in this series, and they clearly proved me wrong. Warriors win the series 4-3, ending Sacramento's season. Kirsten, Sean, thank you guys so much. We're coming back with more after the break.